Hello, David Porter here. I'm going to talk briefly about differentiation for families and students to explain a little bit about what it is, a touch about what's required to do it, and a little bit about why. Differentiation in the classroom is basically adjusting a lesson or unit to ensure that students are not wasting their time repeating material they have already mastered. Do our students each get the same thing? Or does each student get exactly what they need? This excellent cartoon you may have seen before, found from the Second Line Education blog, shows the difference between equality versus equity. And equality, of course, sounds like such a positive thing, and it is when used in the right context. In this situation, equality on the left means that every person got exactly the same thing. This did not meet their actual needs. On the right, an equitable solution to every person's needs. Each person got exactly what they needed for the situation. Equity. Differentiation means that each student gets exactly what they need, not the same thing as everyone else. Differentiation is the process of determining each student's individual prior knowledge, needs, interests, strengths, areas of growth, and then planning their school experience accordingly. Differentiation means that every student will get to learn in the way they learn best, at the pace they learn best, and they will get to show their learning in a way that makes sense to them without wasting their single most valuable resource, their time. Now, differentiation requires knowing student abilities. This can be done through more traditional IQ or identification tests. This may be through teacher or parent observations. It could be through graded classwork, coursework. It can use the PASS theory of ability, planning, attention, simultaneous, and successive, which are the basic cognitive processes that provide the ability to perform certain acts, according to Naglieri and Kaufman from 2001. Differentiation requires knowing student interests. All students, but especially gifted students, are much more likely to exert their best effort and succeed in their work when they see the connection between their learning and themselves and are interested in their subject matter. Jim Delisle coined an excellent term, selective consumerism. And this is just what it sounds like. Students pick and choose the lessons that they find interesting. Hey, I'm on the reading aisle. I think I'm going to grab this highly sugary graphic novel. Pardon the illustration, the mental image there. But you get the point. Students will often pick and choose what they find to be the most interesting. Sometimes that may not have the most academic value. And so it does fall to the teacher, the professional in the room, to guide those situations, to find the meeting point of student interest and appropriate content. This is true. But overall, within that umbrella, students must have choice, they must have autonomy, and they must see the real world applications for their learning. Differentiation does require knowing where students are, especially at the beginning of the process. This requires comprehensive pre assessment and then frequent formative assessments along the way, or checks of current levels of knowledge and skills. Formative assessments can include anything from physical products to teacher interviews to daily classwork. If a student has already mastered a skill, then let's find a way to move them on. Differentiation takes into account the idea that students with an area giftedness may not always be demonstrating their giftedness. Now, this can go back to selective consumerism, or they may be in a situation which doesn't require or allow them to utilize their abilities. They may be in a situation where their abilities don't apply. They may be in a situation where they have already mastered the work they're being asked to do. Stephanie Tolan wrote an outstanding piece talking about how we so often deal with our gifted students in Is It a Cheetah? Stephanie Tolan asks, if a cheetah is not running, can we still call it a cheetah? Cheetah, fastest land animal on Earth. One of their most distinctive properties, runs up to 70 miles an hour. If they're not running, are they still a cheetah? Of course they're still a cheetah. If a cheetah is in a cage and can outrun 70 miles per hour, is it still a cheetah? Yes. If a cheetah catches a rabbit and only ran 20 miles an hour, it didn't need to exert its full abilities, is it still a cheetah? Why, yes. A baby cheetah cannot run 70 miles an hour. Is it only a potential cheetah? No, it's still a cheetah. So, Stephanie Tolan, I really appreciate that piece that she wrote. I think it was very thoughtful and apropos, and I do encourage everyone to look it up. We would never say that a cheetah was not a cheetah simply because it was in a cage or because it was in a situation where it didn't need to use its abilities to the fullest or because it was too young. But that's so often exactly what we do with our students. We place them in a curricular cage where they can't show their full abilities, they don't have an opportunity to, and then we either call them an underachiever or we ask, are they actually gifted? Susan Johnson asks the good question of, is it possible to be an overachiever? Can a person actually do more than they're able? Because that's what an overachiever means. They achieve more than they can actually achieve. Whether for an overachiever or for the gifted and talented, differentiation remains one of the most important educational classroom strategies we can employ. We need to differentiate. It's important to find out where students are. It's important to give them the content that they need at the pace that they can thrive with and show them the real world connections between themselves and their learning. So, differentiation. The resources that I used for this slideshow, Gail Braith and Delisle, When Gifted Kids Don't Have All the Answers. Kaufman and Delisle, Understanding Intelligence, Giftedness, and Creativity Using the Past Theory. Susan Johnson, Is the Student an Overachiever or Gifted and Talented? The image from the Second Line Education blog, Equality versus Equity. Stephanie Tolan's Outstanding, Is It a Cheetah? And the images for this slideshow were created by perchance.org or Dolly 3 by OpenAI. Thank you so much for your time and for listening today. And I hope you will tune in another time for another slideshow, very possibly on differentiation. Take care.